you all to think back to the time when you think you failed in something. So when you did it for the first time, you failed. And when you did the same thing the second time, you actually did it. So for example, to give an example, when I was learning to drive. So the first time when I was driving, I was about to dash the divider. So that was a time when I failed, literally like a failure, because for me, it was like if I'm taking a first step towards anything, it has to be perfect. If it's not perfect, I feel like I'm a failure there and there itself. So for me, learning to drive and on my first day dashing the divider, that for me was a failure. And when I actually drove without dashing, without just properly, without dashing on anything, that was the time when I felt like, I can do this. I can drive. So I want you all to think back to the time when you did something, you failed in it, but the same thing you did it some another time, and you actually did it. So take your time, just write it down, and I also want you to write what actually made you do the same thing for the second time, and what was your thought basically. So for me, for example, going back to the same example of driving, when I just actually, dashed the divider, I went back home, I analyzed my thoughts. I thought that I'm a failure, because first time car, first left I want to be perfect, but I just messed it up. So what I did was, I remember a time when I was learning how to ride a bicycle, and I fell. I hurt both my knees. After hurting both my knees, I had this, I just got this feeling that, how can this bicycle hurt me? It's me, I am riding it. So ideally, I am the one who has the control over my bicycle. So, मेरे दिमाग में ऐसा था कि मैं ये bicycle से एक बार गिर गई, अभी मैं second time नहीं गिरूंगी, because what I thought to myself was कि I am the one जो ये bicycle चला रही है, तो ideally मेरे पास control है bicycle में, but it's not the other way around. And that one thought that I can take charge of my bicycle, that thought changed everything for me. On the very second day when I started riding the bicycle again, I constantly kept on reminding myself, Isha, you can do it. देखो राइट जाना है, देखो लेफ्ट जाना है, देखो कितना स्पीड रखना है, ये तेरे पे है, बाइसिकल पे नहीं है, तू कंट्रोल कर सकती है, बाइसिकल से गिरना नहीं गिरना ये भी मैं डिसाइड कर सकती हूँ. अगर मैं सीधा फोकस करके चलाऊंगी, if I be in the present, and मैं अच्छे से चलाऊंगी, and मैं ध्यान रखूंगी कि बाइसिकल किससे टकरा रही है, नहीं टकरा रही है, वो सब चीज़ अगर मैं ध्यान में रखती हूँ, तो मेरा कंट्रोल है बाइसिकल पे, and I will be able to do it. And that one thought that I can take charge of my bicycle changed the way I used to look at my bicycle. मतलब अभी मेरे पास वो confidence आ चुका था कि मैं अभी ये कर सकती हूँ. So similarly, I want you all to think of the time कुछ जब ऐसा किया, and second time same चीज़ किया, but वो हुआ तुम लोग से actually हुआ, and the thought it actually made you do it the second time you did it. So take your time. कोई भी ऐसा चीज़. It could be something as simple as जो मेरा example था, bicycle चलाना सबने सिखाया है. Yes, हमने से बहुत लोग गिर चुके हैं bicycle से. But we didn't give up. हम लोगों ने फिर भी bicycle सीखा, स्कूटी चलाना सीखा. So what kept you going? What was the one thought that kept you going? If you want, then just close your eyes. Think about that one time.
If you write only one,
As of now, one, but we have everywhere.
what's that?
I need everywhere. It's the business. The failed ones, but it's okay. It's a process of doing something. It does not define you as a person. So there are times when people completely generalize stuff. So what happens is, if I do something, I fail in it. Second time I do the same thing, I fail in it. Third time I do the same thing, I again fail in it. So thrice I have failed. Now I will constantly keep on saying myself that I am a failure, without even knowing that the strategy that I was actually using to reach my particular goal, the strategy itself was something wrong. There was something wrong with the strategy. So not the strategy is wrong. I am not wrong. It's not me as a person who is a failure. But it's just a thing, just a plan, just that strategy that I was using to reach my goal was wrong. And then there are people who will constantly keep on. So let me tell you this. Bill Gates, when he began with Microsoft, so before Microsoft, he and his colleague, they established one company. It was called Trafo Data or something like that. So what they used to do was, they used to basically take out traffic data and they used to share it with engineers. So what happened was, within few months, the company, it just got vanished. They stopped making profits, they were going in complete loss, nothing worked out for them. Now, who would have thought now that someone like Bill Gates, who's a millionaire, might have failed so miserably in his company that was before Microsoft. So what he did was, so now he knew कि मेरा एक company था जो fail हुआ. So what he did was, he just sat down, he just made a list of all those things that he did that he thought were wrong. So in the previous company कहाँ पे मेरे mistakes हुए, कहाँ पे क्या production में wrong हुआ, किस चीज़ में wrong हुआ, क्या हुआ. Just made a list on it, a list of all those things. He started working on it, and he made sure कि जो भी चीज़ मेरे पहले कंपनी में की थी, वो भी माइक्रोसॉफ्ट में नहीं होगी. So he did not really consider himself as a failure, because what he did was, he learned something from those failures. So he acknowledged that there were certain things which he did in his past company were wrong, and that led to the downfall of my previous company. So he learned from it, and the learnings were the ones that he applied in this new company, Microsoft. And look where Microsoft is right now. So what are failures? When these failures are just our thoughts, they are not really in the reality. We are the ones who accept it to be reality. I am a failure, in situation से मैं बाहर निकल ही नहीं सकता. That is what we think, but that may not be the reality. So there are two types of people. When a person is about to start something new, it could be a new venture, it could be a new relationship, anything. There is this little fear. What if it doesn't work out? What if I do something that's wrong? But still, there are people who will actually go ahead, step there, and start working on it. कि चलो relationship है, I'm not sure will it work out or will it not work out, but let's just give it a try. चलो जाते हैं, we'll explore how it goes. किसी को new business, कोई venture चालू कर रहा है. Again there's this little fear कि चलेगा नहीं चलेगा, loss होगा, जितना invest किया उतना returns मिलेगा नहीं मिलेगा पता नहीं. But then they still go ahead with it. कि देखते हैं क्या होता है. Now this is one category of people. Then there are people who really take that fear so seriously that they think कि यार मैं कुछ भी करूँ मैं ये नहीं कर पाऊँगा, मेरे से नहीं होगा, तो छोड़ो जाने तो मैं कुछ करता ही नहीं. They will either do this or they will keep on working, just working. कि मेरे को फेलियर चाहिए ही नहीं, रिलेशनशिप में नहीं चाहिए फेलियर, एक बिजनेस में नहीं चाहिए फेलियर, तो मैं बहुत काम करूँ, काम करते रहते. So for them it's all about काम करते रहना to reach that goal. अभी काम करते रहने के पाथ में मेरा strategy work कर रहा है, नहीं कर रहा है. They don't really sit and take out time to analyze it, because for them it's all about avoiding failures than doing something to reach the goal. So they focus more on the avoiding failures part. तो उनको बस मुझे failure नहीं चाहिए. So let me tell you this, when I was learning to ride scooty, so 10 days के बाद मेरा एग्जाम था, ड्राइविंग टेस्ट था, स्कूटी 2-wheeler टेस्ट था. सो व्हेन आई वाज लर्निंग टू राइड इट, मेरे दिमाग में से एक चीज़ चल रही थी कि व्हाट इफ 10 दिन के बाद मैं पास नहीं हो पाई. एंड आई ऑलवेज हैव दिस थिंग, लेफ्ट राइट में हमेशा मेरा कंफ्यूजन हो ही जाता. सो व्हाट इफ उसने मुझे बोला टेलर ने कि लेफ्ट लेना है टू राइट, व्हाट इफ मेरा बैलेंस गया, व्हाट इफ ये, व्हाट इफ वो हुआ. सो वो चलाना मैं बस प्रैक्टिस कर ही रही थी. वो प्रैक्टिस के टाइम पे आई वाज थिंकिंग अबाउट द टाइम जब मेरा एग्जाम होगा एंड मैं कुछ गलत करूँगी तो क्या होगा. तो दीज वर नेगेटिव थॉट्स दैट स्टार्टेड हिटिंग मी बिकॉज ऑल आई वाज थिंकिंग ऑफ वाज कि अगर मैं फेल हुई तो ऑटोमेटिकली मेरे माइंड में वो सब चीज़ें आनी चालू हुई जिसकी वजह से मैं फेल हो सकती हूँ. जैसे कि लॉन्ग डायरेक्शन सही तो ऑटोमेटिकली वो सब आना चालू हुआ. एंड व्हाट वाज हैपनिंग विद मी वाज मेरा बैलेंस बार बार जा रहा था प्रैक्टिस के टाइम पे. I did not realize that while I was practicing it, it was important for me to focus in the present moment. Focus how I'm riding the scooty, मेरा बैलेंस कहाँ पे होना चाहिए, कितना मुझे स्पीड मेंटेन करना चाहिए. मेरा फोकस आइडियली वहाँ पे होना चाहिए था. बट बिकॉज आई वॉज थिंकिंग अबाउट फ्यूचर कि 10 दिन के बाद अगर मैं नहीं क्लियर कर पाई तो क्या होगा और किन किन चीज़ों की वजह से मैं नहीं क्लियर कर पाऊँगी. वो सब चीज़ें दिमाग में आ रही थी इंस्टेड ऑफ so my mind was really wandering here and there. So what happens is there are times when we take failures so seriously that all we could think of is failures. When we don't really look at the other opportunities because for us the failures they become so important कि नहीं मुझे avoid ही करना है, कुछ भी करके avoid करना है. तो your mind will automatically start thinking about things जिनके वजह से failure आ सकता है. This is where we go wrong. And remember that we always have a choice whether I want to learn from this failure or whether I want to just sit with this failure and not do anything with my life. So there was a story that I heard. So during Nazi time, there were 2 siblings and they were being transferred from Austria to some other place. So what happened was there were 2 siblings, family पूरा पता नहीं कहाँ पे था. ये दो बच्चों को उठाया और नाजी के लोगों ने एंड ट्रेन से कहीं पे तो लेके जा रहे थे. बट ट्रेन आने को बहुत टाइम था. सो द स्मॉलर वन, द स्मॉल चाइल्ड, व्हाट ही डिड वाज ही केम आउट एंड ही स्टार्टेड प्लेइंग फुटबॉल प्लेटफॉर्म पे. एंड उसकी बड़ी बहन थी तो बड़ी बहन वाज वाचिंग हिम प्लेइंग फुटबॉल एंड शी डिडंट से एनीथिंग. वो खेल रहा था. फिर अचानक से ट्रेन आई एंड दोस पीपल, दोस नाजी पीपल, दे जस्ट टुक देम, दे जस्ट पिक देम अप एंड ट्रेन में फेंक दिया ऐसे. अभी बच्चा जब फुटबॉल खेल रहा था उसका शूज उसने वहाँ पे रख दिया प्लेटफॉर्म में. एंड हिज सिस्टर सॉ इट ट्रेन में चढ़ने के बाद कि भाई ने शूज नहीं पहने. नाउ दिस सिस्टर बीइंग अ बिग सिस्टर वो अपने भाई को बहुत चिल्लाई, यू आर सो इररिस्पॉन्सिबल. डोंट यू रियलाइज कि इतना ठंडी में वॉकिंग बेयरफुट मीन्स यू माइट इवन लूज योर फीट, इट्स दैट कोल्ड. सो तू शूज के बिना क्यों आया, तेरे को थोड़ा केयरफुल रहने को नहीं होता, ये वो बहुत सारी चीज़ें उसके भाई को सुनाई. एंड व्हेन फाइनली द ट्रेन रीच्ड इट्स डेस्टिनेशन, लेडीज एंड जेंट्स दोनों को अलग अलग कर दिया. तो लड़की गई दूसरे ग्रुप में, लड़का गया दूसरे ग्रुप में. एंड दे कुड मीट ईच अदर. एंड इट वाज सम वॉर टाइम, कुछ तो वॉर चल रहा था. एंड वॉर के बाद दे वर कैंप में भेजा था दोनों को अलग अलग कैंप्स में, लड़कियों के अलग लड़कों के अलग. सो वॉर खत्म हुआ. एंड दिस फीमेल, she came out of the concentration camp and she started searching for her brother, but she couldn't really find him anywhere. मिला ही नहीं. फैमिली तो पहले से गायब हो चुकी थी. अभी छोटा भाई वो भी नहीं मिल रहा था. Now all she had with her was that regret. कि before I lost my brother, I said such terrible things to him. Now only and only if I had knew this is going to be the last time that I will be able to see my brother, I would have spent some quality time with him. पर मुझे पता नहीं था कि ये होगा. अभी she felt like a complete failure. I failed as a sister because the last words that I said to my brother was so terrible, and now they are hurting me, and now she won't even be able to see her brother again. So she felt as if the responsibilities that I should have ideally completed as a sister, nahi ho paya. I'm a failure. So now she had 2 options. She could either, either learn from this failure, कुछ अभी आगे मैं करूँ अच्छा, या फिर what she would have done is just sat and kept on criticizing herself, but she did not do it. What she did was she went to Chicago and she had this feeling. The last time I spoke to my brother, I spoke so rudely, so badly. So what she felt was, communication is the key. मैंने मेरे भाई से communicate इतना बुरा किया last time, इसलिए मुझे अभी बुरा लग रहा है, इतना hurt हो रहा है. So what she thought was, why not to work in a space where मुझे लोगों से अच्छे से कम्युनिकेट करने को मिलेगा और अच्छे रिलेशनशिप बनाने को मिलेंगे. सो व्हाट शी डिड वाज उसने एक हॉस्पिटल खुद के नाम से खड़ा किया. somewhere near Chicago. And then she started interacting with people, interacting with patients. So the thought that because I did not communicate with my brother properly and therefore I failed as a sister, this thought actually made her learn something from it. The learning for her was that I should communicate with people in a good way, in a polite way, because I don't know कि कल इंसान लाइफ में मेरा होगा कि नहीं. So taking that learning, she established this hospital. She started interacting with the patients. She received some awards as well. So that is what it is all about. So when a failure comes, the choices always belong to us. Do we want to learn from it, or do we want to really not do anything from it and just regret? So the choice completely belongs to us. So what I want you all to do is, the papers that you have right now, I want you to list all the times where you thought you failed and the wisdom that you got from those failures. So for me, when I was learning to drive, I failed for the first time. But the wisdom I got was that I have the ability to control the car. I can control it. So the next time I drove it, I made sure कि steering, gear, सब पे मेरा control है. मैं जब चाहे जितना speed चाहे जो चाहे वो कर सकती हूँ. This is the wisdom that I got from it. So I want you to make a list of at least two means minimum 2 failures that you have failed in, failures that you have experienced in your life, and any learning lesson that you got from those failures. It could be anything. So for example, there was a time when I had this fitness goals. So I thought of joining a gym. But gym really did not work out for me. I don't know why. I had a goal that I want to become fit, but gym really never ever worked out for me. Then I realized that where am I going wrong? मेरा goal तो है, but मैं कर क्यों नहीं पा रही हूँ? And that was the time when I failed, that I felt that I'm a failure because मेरा goal मैं achieve नहीं कर पा रही हूँ fitness का. So where am I going wrong? I just sat and analyzed it, and then I came to know that my interest was more in the dance field than gymming. So I started joining dance classes. तो मेरा fitness का भी goal achieve कर रही हूँ मैं. So मेरा strategy change हुआ. या gymming से dancing पे गया, but my goal still remains the same. So now I got this new learning. मेरा goal same है, पर मैंने दूसरे strategy से उसको meet किया. So similarly, I want you to make a list of all those failures and the learning key points that you got from those failures, the wisdom. So you can literally make 2 columns. In one column, write failures, and left column wisdom, and write wisdom. So you have created 2 columns, I assume, one for failures and one for wisdom. So now you have 4 options to choose from. Okay? What you can do is you have to fold the paper from between, so that failures are one side and wisdom is on another side. And you have to tear it from between. options to choose from. You either keep your failures and wisdoms with yourself. You either throw away both of them by just crumpling it and throwing it to the dustbin that's behind. You either keep failures with you and throw away the wisdom, or keep wisdom with you and throw away the failures column. Therefore, full body control. I hope everybody got what you're saying.
Basketball champion.
Keep it in the middle now.
वहाँ पे रख देते थे वो खेलते थे ना पेपर इन द बास्केट
So now I want to know what do you guys do when keeping yourself? You get nothing to do.
I kept nothing.
You get nothing. Any reason why nothing?
I have overcome my failures, whatever I wrote. I know my failures. I know what strategy I use. I won't need them now because it's recorded that okay, this is the process. I don't need it now. So I don't need the wisdom as well for that kind of failure.
You get both. Any reason?
I can always refer back.
Right, through failures because I was done with that wisdom because I didn't know when that can shoot me back. And that's the reason I kept the wisdom so that I can help me go through it again with a certain amount of knowledge. Yeah, I can do it in a better way.
I kept the wisdom lessons from the failures. I think same reasons I can refer back if I face similar situation again.
I kept, for these two, I kept the wisdom and through the failure because the failure is something in the past I don't think that will repeat again. Wisdom was generic, which could be applied in any situation in the future, so it makes sense.
I kept wisdom because I can refer it anytime.
Yeah, I kept wisdom. I've crumpled the failure, but I'm not wishing to throw it because sometimes we forget things. We forget the things we fail at. So in future, if something is that you're like that, if it is happening, I can just check my failures. Whether I failed at the same thing before. So that will help me. I have wisdom for that, and I can refer to that wisdom and get better.
I feel wisdom will be because the failure part is something which was which might come back, but in order to work with it, the wisdom which I've already used in my previous thing. So in order to refer to that, to make me realize that this is the part which I've been through and I want to end up doing this. So that's the reason I wisdom.
I kept the wisdom part because I've written it in such a way that it is always helpful to me.
So I actually initially had just kept wisdom, but when I heard of him deleting both the things, I thought, if I believe in making new mistakes every time, so I think I won't repeat that same mistake. Once it's done, it's done. I won't repeat.
I kept wisdom with me because that was making me more happier to see these are the things that have actually changed in my life. So I kept it.
Yes, I kept wisdom with me because I just overcome my weaknesses.
What would you have? Wisdom. And failures actually both. Because that would have gave me an understanding that yes, I did fail, but I got over it. So I'm at the same time acknowledging both these things. You know, that yes, I failed, but yes, I overcame. I would have kept both. I didn't. That's my choice. But how did it make you feel throwing away your failures and keeping wisdom with you? How did it make you feel?
Very good.
Feels like we have more control over these situations.
It's like we don't get positive thoughts only and we throw away negative things.
I still have it. So, rule number 1, it's not rule actually, it's just one of the strategies to help you deal with failures, is take failures as your learning lessons. Because every failure, every mistake that we do has got something to teach us. So, you know, most of you are from psychology, some of you at least know research methodology as a subject. So, in research, what the researchers do is they formulate a hypothesis. So, based on their observation, they come up with a hypothesis and they test the hypothesis. So, now what happens is when they formulate this hypothesis, and if that hypothesis is not supported, the final result. So, for example, if I say that females, they shop more in stores and males, they shop more online. Okay, this based on my observation, मैंने ये hypothesis बनाया, and when I designed a questionnaire, I did a survey and everything, and I got results which were contradictory to what I had suggested. So my results are not supporting my hypothesis. So as a researcher, I will not say that I have failed in my research. Reasons being because if I get more into the depth of my results, I may come to know certain things why my hypothesis was not supported. So for example, I come to know that females, they are working nowadays. Most of the females, they work, and therefore they don't get enough time to go in the shop and shop. So they prefer shopping online. So this is one of the reasons why females prefer shopping online. So my hypothesis said that males shop more online as compared to females. But the result I got was extremely contradictory. So I as a researcher won't say that my research has failed, because I will only say that my hypothesis was not supported by my results because of XYZ things. So now I got new learning out of it. कि हाँ मतलब females अभी job पे जाती हैं तो they don't get enough time to go in shops and buy stuff for themselves, so they do online shopping, or they have their household responsibilities, so उनको नहीं shop में जाने को मिलता, or whatever reasons I come up with. So now these are the learnings that I got from my research. So it would be wrong. So researchers usually never say that the research was wrong or the research has failed, because there are certain other factors that affected the result. This is the key learning points that the researcher gets. So this is what usually the attitude researchers have. So they take every failed research as a learning point. ये research fail क्यों हुआ? अच्छा, ये सब चीजों की वजह से research fail हुआ. So same research जब वो next time repeat करेंगे, they will keep in mind कि ये जो सब external variables है जो मेरे result को affect करते हैं, उसको मैं control में रखूँगी. So what happens is failures, if you look at it, if you analyze it, they have something to always teach us. So everything. So even if you look at, say, guilt. Guilt कब होता है? When we do something and the next day we realize that मुझे ये नहीं करना चाहिए. But now that you have realized कि मुझे ये नहीं करना चाहिए था, this is the learning that you have got from the guilt. So an emotion per se, as per me, is not really negative. Or I don't divide emotions into these two categories, negative and positive. Because for me, even negative emotions, like guilt, anger, they serve some purpose. So guilt makes me realize कि मैंने ये गलती की थी, मुझे फ्यूचर में नहीं करना है, तो मैं कुछ और करती हूँ जिससे मुझे कभी guilt feel ना हो. So even guilt for me has become like a learning lesson. So you know, everything that we do in life teaches us something or the other. The only thing which we miss out on is something happens to us and we just sit with it. We don't really get into the depths of it. We don't really question कि मेरे साथ क्यों हुआ? Is it the circumstance जिसकी वजह से ये सब हुआ? या क्या चीज़ थी जिसकी वजह से ये सब कुछ हुआ? क्या मेरी strategy, मेरा planning wrong था? Where did it go wrong? This is something that most of us don't really do. And then we sit with it. We sit with that regret. We sit with that guilt. But now that the guilt has already hit me, I better do something to get rid of that guilt. कुछ alternate behavior मेरा होगा, कोई चीज़ है जो दूसरी चीज़ करूँगी, इसके वजह से मेरा वो guilt मुझे वापस हिट ना करे. So most of us, what we do is we set a goal, and we have this mindset that if I achieve this goal, I will be called a successful person. If I don't achieve this goal, I will be called a failure. So imagine someone who's going for an interview, and he's standing right outside the door, the interview room's door, and at that point, he says to himself that if I don't clear this interview, I will be a failure. So Abhi, it's simple like if I tell you that close your eyes and don't think of a pink color elephant, most of you will actually think about the pink color elephant first. Because for my mind to know what is it that I'm not supposed to think about, my mind should know ये क्या है इसके बारे में मुझे नहीं सोचना. तो पहले मेरा mind वही चीज़ सोचेगा कि अच्छा ये pink color elephant होता है इसके बारे में मुझे नहीं सोचना. My mind will actually think about that first. So similarly, for a person who's going for an interview and says कि नहीं clear किया तो failure होगा, I will be called as a failure. At that point itself, the person will keep on thinking about things that he will do in the interview, which will make him a failure. Maybe मैंने interview ठीक से मैंने बात नहीं किया, या फिर मेरा body language कुछ गलत था, और इसकी वजह से मुझे उस interview ने reject कर दिया. उसका बॉडी लैंग्वेज ऑलरेडी फेलियर के बारे में सोच रहा है, इसलिए उसका बॉडी लैंग्वेज भी वैसे ही होगा, स्कूप शोल्डर्स, लो कॉन्फिडेंस. सो दिस इज व्हाट हैपेंस व्हेन यू आर सेइंग जस्ट लाइक पिंक कलर एलिफेंट. तेरा माइंड सबसे पहले वही चीज़ जनरेट करेगा जो मैं उसको फीड कर रही हूँ. तो फेलियर है तो मैं वही चीज़ सोचूंगी कि क्या क्या चीज़ है जो मुझे फेलियर के टुवर्ड्स लेके जाएगी, क्योंकि वो चीज़ मुझे अवॉइड कर रही है. बट मैं सोच तो वही चीज़ रही हूँ क्या चीज़ मुझे फेलियर के पास लेके जाएगी. So it's just like that, so close your eyes, take 2 minutes, and if there's any message that you want to give to this angel, remember this angel is someone who's going to help you in dealing with the fear of failure, and he's able to be with you. So if there's any special message that you want to give to this angel, if there's any thoughts that you want to share with this angel, just take your time, close your eyes, and only when you think you're done giving the message to the angel, then open the eyes.
So we have come to the end of this talk. May your angel be with you. You can literally, take a picture of that angel and keep it as your phone wallpaper or your desktop wallpaper. It will just keep on reminding yourself that it's possible to get out of failures. It's possible to even deal with that fear of failing, and you have the ability to make the change because you have the ability to control your life. Remember, it's your life, and if we are responsible behind creating those self-sabotaging thoughts or behaviors, we ourselves have the ability to just erase it and replace it with this thought or a behavior that is non-self-sabotaging, that is going to help you to move towards your goals. So I want you all to tell me, out of the 5 strategies that I just spoke about, just the one that you are going to initiate right from the time you step out of this door.
Set smaller goals.
That's one of those. Do not personalize like self-loathing sort of things. Harsh comments to one's own self.
Remember that the angel is always with you.
As it's more good.
It's not comparing.
I will not compare myself.
No.
Set small goals and look through problem focus thinking. So I will be sending you 2 links tonight. One is for if then. So you can go to the article, and if there are any doubts, you can always ask me. And another would be a link for your reviews, where I want you all to just open that link and post your feedback there on that page. Before we part for the day, any verbal feedback, any verbal experience that you want to share, you're free to do that now. Anything about the workshop or any one point that really, you felt like, oh, I'm doing this, I want to really apply this. Or anything that, gave you certain insights, anything that you want to share, you're free to do that.
The session was really good, and the stories you told in between session was they were interesting. That girl and the boy, that story.
Anybody else wants to share?
I didn't know that failure can be as small as even not being consistent to being at a gym. So that's what I don't know that definition of failure, perspective of looking at it.
So 5 things that we learned today, they are definitely going to help in day-to-day life. So even though these are very simple things, but all these things matter, and we tend to ignore this comparing or setting small things. We tend to think that it's chota hai, nahi karte, nahi kiya to kya hoga. But we get to know how important those things are and how the small things together makes a bigger picture. So yeah, this will definitely help.
But I learned from this workshop, one thing the key takeaway for me was that accepting failure means, like, since Braun got up in a Gujarati family where my dad was kind of a strict person, where he's a perfectionist, and considering that kind of mentality, failures are kind of looked down upon sort of thing, which kind of creates another which has been a bigger problem for me for a while, which I realized accepting that failure is the first step to these things. It's okay, it's not a big deal. You can learn from it and grow from it. So that's one thing I learned, and over time I definitely will apply these things and keep these things in mind.
Overall, it was a good session. I enjoyed a lot. Got to know many things. That's all I'll give you a feedback on WhatsApp.
I really like the part, like, yeah, when you were writing it down, everything. I was just taking notes, okay, am I doing this right? Am I doing this right? Am I doing this right? But what really took me away in the thought when you gave me the example of TEDx, that we want to be on that platform, but how are you going to make it happen? Those small steps which can change certain things was kind of actually like I felt strong about because I was also looking for that. And also these activities were quite interactive and I enjoyed drawing with them. And I'm hoping to, see more workshops from your end. Like this was the first which I came on and thinking that Beyond Failures is just a start, but I'm really hoping that you'll come up with more different challenging aspects for everyone. Like, this was a start and different. But for the personal touch, it will help people come out of their original fears. Like a workshop is good, it will help you overcome it. But those small things which let people open up more would be helpful.
Good, very well done, I would say.
As well, because you got rid of the monster. And is there anyone who wants to share the story of monster? How that monster makes you feel, or what is it that you want to tell that monster? Anybody wants to go ahead and share that?
It's fun now. While I was drawing, I was just thinking how this monster actually makes me feel. So I wrote everything, like procrastination, fear, or something like that, these feelings. And then at the last time when I just, you have to name that particular monster. So I just named it Gondu. So you can just chill. Like it just vanished in a moment when I just gave it a name.
Anybody else?
So my monster was not like a failure monster, I think, but some monster was there which was, making me fear the failure, which I would fear. कि मैं future में fail हो जाऊँ तो. So this is just a message to my monster that you've taught me something, but it's time for you to go. As I'm grateful to know you, learned my lesson. Thank you.
So now comes the fun part. So what I want you to do is just keep that sheet on the plan. Look at that sheet and close your eyes. Take 3 deep breaths, and I will give you a minute to just say whatever it is that you want to say to that monster before this monster goes out of your life. And once you are done saying everything in your mind, whatever is it that you want to say to this monster, all you have to do is just tear it into tiny pieces, like really tiny pieces, and throw it in the dustbin. So it's just a venting out process. So look at it. Close your eyes, take 3 deep breaths. You have a minute to do this. To say whatever it is that you want to say. How this monster made you feel. How it affected you. So now, on this sheet of paper, you have to draw an angel. An angel who's going to help you during those times when you will feel like a failure. Or an angel who's going to help you get rid of that fear of failure. An angel who's going to help you get rid of that thought of failing in something. And if there's any message that you want to give to this angel, any help that you need from this angel, You can write this message on the sheet as well. So this angel, just like you drew the monster, this is an angel. It's basically going to help you get out of that fear of failure.